What's up, everybody? It's Lee with Win Championship Trades for Life. We have a great episode today, JB and I, with NFL legend Ricky Watters joins us today. And like most of our episodes, we're not asking about the everything you already know about Ricky Watters, including a choice phrase. We dive into the adversity of his life. In fact, he was adopted. Not a lot of people know that, and he does a lot of philanthropic work for families that provide adoption. And adoptees. Also talked about a little one that a lot of people forgot about. He missed his entire first NFL season of injury. And the adversity he had to face to come back and then to have that successful career is pretty exciting stuff. He's a phenomenal person, phenomenal family. His wife, Catherina, was there to help us set this up. I mean, really great episode today. So make sure you suck as much knowledge out of this one as you can. Also, for the month of September, we want to remind you that pivotalmomentsmedia.com is providing our Mind Care Kit, which is a three-pronged approach. It's a subscription-based package where Ty Herndon, country superstar, leads it off with a download of his album and a special message about mental health and mental fitness. Then it dives into modularized learning. We're going to take you through a great course about mental health and mental fitness awareness, led by Freddie Scott, a former NFL player, along with some other educational type content there. And then it finishes up with our Mind Care box, which comes to you in the mail. There's a lot of great goodies in it, things you can take out of the box and apply to your daily life. So check that out at pivotalmomentsmedia.com. Look for that Mind Care kit and enjoy it. But without further ado, enjoy this episode of Win Championship Trades for Life with JB and I, with the legendary Ricky Watters. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Win, a show where we interview champions and trailblazers and ask questions to uncover and discover their championship traits for succeeding in sports, work, and life. Win is part of Grit, a pivotalmomentsmedia.com channel focused on breaking the stigma surrounding mental fitness in sports. Visit pivotalmomentsmedia.com for more episodes, content, and education on how we can tackle that challenge together. I'm Lee Elias with JB Spizo, and we are joined today by a Super Bowl champion, a national champion, a motivational speaker, and an inspiration to many in football and beyond, the legendary Ricky Watters. Now, while you may know Ricky's name from his time on the football field, his work beyond the game deserves just as much recognition. Ricky and his wife, Catherina, are active philanthropists via their work with the Ricky Watters Family Foundation, which advocates for mentoring foster and at-risk youth, in addition to being stewards for the game of football through the Watters Warriors and Ricky Watters Pro Experience camps. In addition to the above, Ricky is a lover of music, poetry, and a proud father to his two sons, Ricky Jr. and Shane. Ricky, cannot thank you enough for giving us some time today. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you.
Ricky, great to have you on the show. Know your father was a veteran too. That's so amazing.
Yes.
This wasn't one of the questions, but I want to ask you this. Do you think, your father being a veteran, you think that helped forge your foundation growing up?
Without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
All the way through. If he wasn't there, I don't know what I would have done, actually. I grew up in the inner city. I had the bad elements around me. I could have easily fallen into that trap. The guys I was looking up to, they weren't, they were the guys that you probably would say are thugs or gangsters. We used to call them hard rocks back in the days. And, I would have been up at the pool halls. I would have been hanging around, those places if it wasn't for my dad. My dad was the rock. He was the pillar. He didn't let me steer one way or the other. He kept me on that narrow, straight path, put me in private school. I went to Catholic school my whole life. He made sure I wasn't going to be one of the people who would be out there on the streets and doing, the bad things that we see other kids fall prey to.
Wow, that's amazing. I love hearing that, and thank you for that. And you had a story career. I remember growing up, watching you, and but you missed your whole first NFL season due to injury.
Yes.
And the NFL's, it's much different today than it was back when you played. It was probably 2-a-days in camp, and it was going at it hard, smacking helmets. Now
no rules.
Yeah, well, no rules. Now,
head slaps, everything.
Head slaps, everything. Right?
Form. Oh my
gosh. Yeah, it was. The game has thankfully, I think, changed. For player safety, even in college and high school, and down that. Trying to keep the head contact out as much as possible, but. But how did you manage that setback, both mentally and physically? You're in the league. Just talk us through that.
Well, it was extremely hard. Something that you worked your whole life for, you finally get there. I made it. I get drafted. The 49ers, a team that I, looked at and thought a lot of and thought that it would be great to play for them. And here I get there and I'm injured. Now, we're kind of always injured. So it's like we have to play through injuries. I played through a lot of injuries in my career. The time I scored the 5 touchdowns against the Giants in the playoffs, I had a knee brace on because I had a little ligament damage at the time, but I was able to play through that and have that type of a day, obviously. But this was one I could not play through. It was a broken foot. I had a little stress fracture in it that we thought was healing up kind of from college, and it broke all the way through. And here I am in camp. It was before the main camp started. So we were in the mini camps and this happened to me. So of course it was a tremendous, a terribly tremendous situation for me to have to deal with. And it didn't endear me to my teammates, because they were just like, man, what is this guy? He made of plastic. I remember they used to joke, was I made of plastic or glass and I break easy, all these things that I had to prove myself all over again. I was already going to have to prove myself anyway, but it was even worse because now I come in, oh man, he breaks easy. Now I have the stigma that I'm not a tough guy, which couldn't be worse for me and not true, obviously.
Right.
But I had to deal with that. I had to, the craziest part of it was that whole year was hard for me, just going through that whole thing. And I worked myself back and I was ready to actually play. I actually really, I heal up pretty fast anyway, but I did everything that I was supposed to do to get back on that field. Went through all the rehab, everything, and I was ready to go. And then I break my hand. So I broke a finger on my hand from one of my own teammates trying to grab the ball from me and pull the ball out. Wow. And break my hand. So I was out that whole year. And the worst part of it is that I felt like they just abandoned me. They said, okay, this was a mistake. They got another player the next year. They got Ampley in the second round. He was on the championship team, a Florida State team coming in, heralded. And when my first preseason game, I didn't start. I wasn't in the second quarter. I wasn't in the third. I came in the fourth quarter.
Wow.
But I scored 2 touchdowns. Now, we played against the Redskins, and they were the champions the year before.
Sure.
So I think that made them take another look at me, just like, wait a minute, this guy, he really showed out, even though he got against in the fourth quarter and against the guys that are not the best players. So they were like, let's see how he does in the third quarter. Next game I play, I balled out again. And they put me in the second quarter. And also in practice as well, I was running all my plays out. Like if you see how professional players practice, the running backs, they get the ball. Once they break the line of scrimmage, they kind of slow down, whatever. I wasn't doing that. I would break the line of scrimmage, I'm hitting it at least 20, 30 yards down the field. And guys were starting to say, oh man, I would have got you, or I would have caught you. I said, well, then run with me. Come on, let's go. Because I want to see, you know what I mean? I want to see if you would have caught me or not, or if I can really break away. So I think that they respected that part of me too. Sure. It was that grit, like you said, that my dad gave me, that fight, that dog. I wasn't going to quit. I wasn't going to give up. I came too far. I was that close, and I did everything I had to do. And before you know it, they said, okay, let's see him in the first quarter. And it was like one of our last preseason games. They put me in the first quarter. I played the first half actually. And I had a great game, another one of those great games, scored multiple touchdowns, did well. And after that, they had to make a decision. And they ended up putting me as the starter. We played against the Giants in Giant Stadium, one of the toughest defenses. I remember everyone was like, man, you better be ready to play. Even my own teammates was on me. They was like, man, because they'll bust you up. They're going to make you cry and this and that, all this stuff. And I was like, okay, y'all going to see. And I ended up having another great day, over 100 yards. We won the game and everything. And from that point on, I had kind of solidified my spot, but I still had to keep proving myself that whole year.
Sure, yeah. And it's from working in the NHL, Ricky, I can tell you sometimes a young player gets hurt like that, and you're right, they don't come back to him. He gets sent off, and that player never comes back. And I love the part how you said, like, they were ready to move on, and you got an opportunity in a fourth quarter of a preseason game, and you had to show it. You just worked your way back. Amazing. This is my favorite story. Thank you, Ricky.
Thank you,
Ricky. Two things for me on this. I want to pull a thread on this. Number one, you mentioned scoring 5 touchdowns in the Giants. I just want you to know, as an Eagles fan, I love anytime anybody scores 5 touchdowns in the Giants, and it doesn't happen often. So that's just wonderful to hear you say out loud. A little fandom coming there. The other thing, the second thing, is I want to dive into what JB was just talking about. Back at this time period, mental fitness, mental health is not really a top of mind thing
right,
in the league, in the world, right? We were just watching, JB and I were just talking about this on Hard Knocks, how a coach was saying, you'll get your one chance and that might be it. And you were basically down to that one chance. So
right.
I want to dive into this. And you talked about it a little bit with your father and the grit. I think there's so many athletes out there that get that one chance and they are terrified, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're just terrified. If I don't do this, my whole life falls apart. And you got a chance, then you got another chance, you got another chance. Mentally, what did you rely on? Did you feel the fear? Was there no fear? How did you push through? Because your career is fantastic. Over 1,000 yards a year for most of your career. I mean, like this story of you, I love this. Getting a chance in the fourth quarter led to a legendary NFL career. So yes. I want to pull the thread on that for the young athletes listening and the young coaches of what did you do up on your mind to execute in that really a make or break moment for your life? Now the way you're talking about it.
Well, I'll tell you, the truth is, if anyone says I had no fear, I wasn't nervous, none of those things, that's not true. I think real courage is when you are afraid, you are nervous, you don't know what's going to happen, but you still do it anyway. Right. You go through it anyway, and you get out there and you pick yourself up. There were times I didn't want to get out of bed. There were times I want to quit. I would call my dad, man. My dad would get on that phone. Hey, he would give me the words that I needed. I could lean on him. And that was a great thing. I could lean on my coaches.
Right.
I could lean on my teammates. I had older teammates that were like, man, some of them were really cool to me. And really, like John Taylor was one that was really great for me. He was like, man, don't worry about those guys. Don't listen to those guys, man. You just, you have the talent. You know what you can do. Joe Montana was another one. He told me, man, look, man, you belong here. You worked your butt off to get here. Don't quit now. And so those guys helped me as well. And I know that I needed that. Without that, I would like to say, I had it in me. It was all me. I did it myself. I didn't. I had people that I could lean on that cared about me enough to tell me I can do it and to go out there and put your best foot forward.
Right. And I'll say, I love that you're bringing this up, man. And thanks for being somewhat vulnerable there with your answer. We always say, so look, 2 things. A lot of this was in you, but as we say on the show all the time, nobody does this alone. There's not one successful person we have interviewed on this show that has not said, I had help, whether it was moral help, mental help. I mean, yeah, look, Joe Montana says something to you. You're probably going to listen to Joe Montana, right? Right. But the idea is that, the support was there. I think there's so much stigma about not even just the NFL, about the way you're supposed to fight on through this by yourself. And it's not true. You need your teammates. You need your family. You need that support structure. So, with that said, kind of leading into this, family, community support is something extremely important to you and your family. You're very passionate about giving back to the community via your love of the game, which is obvious, right? And this is exhibited in your great work with Waters Warriors, Ricky Waters Pro Football Experience. Why is passing the torch so important to you as a person? And you're not just passing it via football. You're really creating people and giving life lessons, right? Why is that such a passion for you?
Well, it's very important to me because I didn't have that, first of all. I didn't have a situation where I could get close to a professional athlete, talk to him, spend time with them, have them, ask them questions, touch them. act friendly with them and they act friendly back and things like that. So that's what I wanted to create for these young people, especially the kids who are from the inner cities, kids who are at risk, don't have the support system that I had. I was adopted myself, so I could have easily slid right into that. I was lucky I had parents that brought me in as a baby and took care of me and gave me that upbringing that I needed to kind of get me through and navigate these crazy times. So I know that most kids don't have that, and it's a very tough situation. And if it's like they say, it takes a village to raise a child.
Right.
So I want to be part of that village, and I want to help these kids who don't have that situation, don't have most of them don't have the silver spoon, but something like that.
Yeah.
Even kids you think had the silver spoon didn't have a silver spoon. I didn't have a silver spoon. So growing up or whatever, so to speak. So I know what it was like. I know the times that I wanted to quit, the times that I wanted to give up. I had a coach, Coach Renfield in high school. He was very instrumental in me when I was at vulnerable times in my life. And I felt like that I got switched positions, different things were happening with me. And he helped me pull through during those times as well. So I just wanted to be there for these young people. And the greatest part is seeing them grow up.
Right.
See, now I can look back on it and I see some of these young people who are at these camps that I've kept up with, and now they're fathers. Now they have beautiful families. They're great people in our society, and they are out there doing things for good and not doing the bad things that they could have easily fell prey to because of the element that was around them on a daily basis.
Ricky, I'll tell you this quick story. I was privileged to have this opportunity in Philly to work with Frankfurt High School. You might know that name. Over at the old Frankfurt Field, which is one of the oldest football fields in the country. And it's an inner city school. And I'll tell you what, those kids taught me so much more than I taught them about life in that scenario, right? Where murder is a very real option daily. And the reason I'm bringing this up right now is because our work with that team and these kids really opened my eyes up to really a harsh reality that a lot of people say they care, right? But they don't really take the action. And also the power of these kids knowing that I cared. And I'm not making this about me. What I'm saying is that they just needed someone to say, hey, I'm here for you. Let's use this game as a vehicle. What's the win? The win's graduating high school, right? So I think the work that you do, and like you said, the access is so important. I want our young coaches and athletes to understand that, because giving back is not something you have to wait to do, right? It's something that you should be looking to do all the time. And it pays its own dividends. There's so much peace in helping others, right? And again, like I just bring up that story because I learned more than I think I taught them about team building. You know what I mean? So it's something I encourage, whether it's working with a team or having your team read to youth, anything like that, I think is really important. You're setting an example for all of us, man, with that. So I appreciate that.
And I've never met a bad kid. I haven't. I've met kids who were in bad situations. And all those kids, when you start to talk to them, once you break them down, once you get through, they have a little bravado that they have with them. They have to put up a little shield.
Right.
So a lot of them have that. But once you break through that, man, they are the most loving kids, man. Yeah. Everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants to be appreciated. Everybody wants to be successful and do well in life, and they are just no different.
Right.
They just are in bad situations, and if you can help them somehow in those situations, just be there for them. A lot of times it's just a kind word. It's not a whole lot you have to do. These kids, believe it or not, they don't ask for a lot. They just don't. They don't, I don't know. They don't feel it in their heart to really want to ask you for stuff. But you have to kind of get it out of them, what they need, what they want, what things you can help them with. And so you have to go kind of dig in like you did. And that's what's so awesome and I appreciate what you did, because that is what it's all about. Like I said, it's a village, man. It's more than just us. And it doesn't matter even if you came from that situation or if you've ever dealt with that situation. You might be like, oh man, I don't relate to these kids. How can they're not going to listen to me. They're not going to, but you will be surprised if you come to them and you are real. That's the thing about it. I love talking to kids. I love talking to them. I talk to business people too. And I do all these, different speaking engagements that I have, but I love talking to the kids because that when you first come, you see the real. They're like, I want to see what this mug going, what he got to say for me, or what he going to do that can help me. But when you come and they say, "Oh, wait a minute, he's not posing, he's not pretending to be something fake. He's being real. He's telling me about him. He's saying he cried. He's saying he was afraid. He's saying that he wanted to quit. He's not somebody who just had this talent and everything just came to his, just came right to me and was so easy. I had to fight." To get where I am. And I think that they appreciate that. And they appreciate, like you said, when you let down your guard and you show that you're vulnerable a little bit. Yeah. I'm just a person like anybody else. I bleed just like everybody else. I cry, I get down, I get dejected sometimes. I wanted to quit. All those things have happened to me, just like they happen to anybody else.
I'll tell you this, just echoing that, when I got there, I was born in Philadelphia, but I grew up in the suburbia. And I didn't hide that. I told him, like, look, I'm not from here. Yeah, you know, man. Yeah. We'll do that later this show. Listen, I told them I didn't grow up here. And I think the key of when they understood I was being real was, look, I'm not going to act like I understand what it is to live here. I don't, but I'm willing to learn and I'm walking with you. And when I said that to him, the whole tone changed. Like, he's not just here for that. Like I genuinely care and I don't know, teach me. Right. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what life's like in Philly. Right. I don't live in this part of the city. So that for everybody listening, Ricky's 1,000,000% right. You've got to be you. And it's not about bravado or establishing why you're there as much as this is who
I'm important. Listen to me.
Yeah. Like, you're going to lose them right away. Like, I forgot who said it, but it's like kids can read through BS better than anyone. Because they're mostly BSers, but kids can read through this better than like professionals at it. So it's like, just be you. Right. And again, like, you got no problem doing that, obviously. And you got a career that speaks for itself, but I appreciate you saying that back to me, Ricky. And I'm going to throw it back to JB, but it was a life-changing experience for me in so many ways. I'm so thankful to have done it and really opened my eyes up to another world that, my wife and I are pretty active in now. You know what I mean? So anyway, you're a leader in that realm. And I want to thank you for that. Go ahead, JB.
No, I was taking notes when Ricky was talking, and this is what I wrote. Ricky, genuine, authentic, hard work pays off. And I love how you talked about, I know you and your wife, Kat, you're huge at helping these and mentoring foster and at-risk youth, and been dealing with adversity. And I love what you said. If there's, athletes or business people and they want to, I don't know where to help, you're like, help one person, start with one. Yeah. And I think that's so important for that. So I love your philanthropy with that. It's amazing. These kids have been dealing with this adversity. I just want to go on that a bit. What are some of the lessons though, that you teach them to take on their own adversity and become leaders themselves? Because like you said, they might not be going back to the most safe environments, the most calm environments. So you're talking to them, then they have to, they have to go back to that. But you're being instrumental in their life. What are some of those topics that you help with them to pull that out?
Well, first you have to believe in yourself. That's one of the hardest things to do when you're in a situation like that, because you're time and time again, you got somebody telling you, you're not this, you're not that, you're never going to be this, you can't do that. Those are the hurtful words that are coming from people that these kids are trying to look up to. They're saying these things and of course their peers are saying worse things, to them. So they have to deal with that. So you have to believe in yourself, first of all. And then I tell them too, it's okay to be upset. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to get angry. That's okay. It's how you handle it. Right. And I try to teach them, a lot of people brought meditation to me, martial arts. And when I was doing martial arts, different things, they were bringing meditation. It wasn't working so well for me when I was younger. I guess I was just too highly strung to relax myself and to do it. But meditation is one of the things that I've learned as I've gone through, and I try to teach them a little bit of it. And I know it's very hard to just meditate and push everything out and to only, just think good thoughts and all that kind of stuff. But I always tell them, before you act, take a breath, stand back, and think for a second before you say something, before you react, before you do something, because the first thing that comes to mind is probably not what you want to say. And it's probably not what you want to do. You get mad, first thing you want to do, you want to punch somebody in the face, right? Don't do that. I tell them that, don't do that. But really, it's trying to calm yourself in those situations. Think things through before you say things and you do things, and really, that's all they can do. All you can really do is believe in yourself. Try to put positive people around you if you can. If you meet somebody and that person is positive and that person is telling you some good things, you know what? You might want to be around that person a little bit more if you can, and listen to those things instead of listening to these negative things. And there are ways to get around it. Sometimes you can't even avoid it. Some people are in your home. You have to go home. You have to deal with it. They're going to talk to you that way. But all you can do is not believe it. You don't have to believe it. You don't have to believe what every person tells you, especially if it's negative. Try to think positive thoughts. Try to put positive people around you, and try to always stay believing in yourself and what you can do, and focus on the good things that you do and accentuate those things. And the things that you don't do so well, work on it. You can work on it and you can get better at it. Everybody can get better. There are things that I don't do well. I play football very well, right? But there are other things I don't do so well. So I work on those things to try to make me a more well-rounded person.
I love it. I think that's so important there. And I'm just going to talk about that, that believe in yourself. There's so many negative energy that comes in. Ricky, I'll tell you that I told one of our young rookie players when I was in the NHL, and he was a very good player, but he was having a little bit of tough time first few games in. And he said to me one time, I asked him what was happening. He goes, I want to prove it to coach, that I should be here. And I'm like, why prove it to coach? Prove it to yourself. I just said, prove it to yourself. And then all of a sudden he was like, and then he forgot what the coach was saying to him. And he went out there and, he's still playing today. So I think that's part of it is, just prove it to yourself. You don't have to really prove it to anybody else. And as that comes, and you did by telling us that initial story, which I love. I love it. Thank you so much for that, Ricky.
Thank you. And if you don't believe in yourself, who else will? And why should they?
Yeah, that's right. And Ricky, I'll bring up another point you talked about. You're not the thoughts in your head. So many of us are kind of hijacked by these negative thoughts. And the thing is, you said it, other people, sometimes it's your parents, have put these thoughts there, and you're trained to think that way because of it. And you have to kind of have this snap realization of you have control over that. And you have to work at controlling that. And it's hard, especially if look, one of the things I think sometimes people don't think about this is if you have a great family life at home and you have a safe place to go at home, that's fantastic. Not everybody has that. Sometimes going home for kids is a nightmare, right? Yep. They've got parents at home, maybe parents at home that are telling them really rough things or not telling them anything. And you grow up in that. So you get trained to say, it's not worth it. This is not worth my time. I'm not going to amount to anything. You are not the thoughts in your head. I tell this to young athletes all the time. You've got to train yourself to what Ricky said is to give positive thoughts. Now, Ricky, with that in mind, I have to ask this question. You were singing the Eagles fight song before. I'm from Philadelphia. I'm a fan of Philadelphia sports. You grew up close enough to Philly in Harrisburg to know the culture of this city when it comes to football. It's well documented that your time in Philly had, we'll just say, an interesting start, to say the least. And with that said, your play here definitely spoke for itself, right? You were fantastic with the Eagles, right? So not every athlete is built to understand and perform in front of a crowd that is consistently judgmental, always irritable, right? So how did you compartmentalize that and perform in spite of it? Because like people say, I just ignore it. That's not as simple here as it sounds. I mean, Philly fans are rough, right? So how did you navigate those waters and really, in a way, win everybody? Because I said it before, right? Over 1,000 yards every year you were here, you performed, right? And I think this goes back to even our first question in a way of like, you had that one chance, right? How did you do
Right.
that in this city?
Well,
Right.
just Lee, before you go on that, just make sure people understand in Philadelphia, I think you have a jail cell in the stadium,
We
right?
do, yeah.
For your rowdy fans.
Veterans
So
Stadium,
everybody
right?
understands that
Right.
they have a holding
I
cell.
very quickly. So Veterans Stadium and Lincoln Financial Field have an active courtroom on game days with
There
a
you go.
judge, so they can arraign people as it happens. It's the only stadium, to my knowledge, that has
So
that.
what's that tell you? Okay.
It's better than Pittsburgh. It's not. It's somewhere. Yeah. Go ahead, Ricky.
Oh yeah, nah. Well, I think that yes, they definitely can get rowdy and all that. But the thing is, they're passionate. They're
Right.
passionate fans. You know, they're from a steel town, just like I was from. Harrisburg is a steel town. Uh, Tough, rugged, those things. But I think that the reason why I won them over is because they know that I'm tough and rugged also,
Right.
and I'm built from the same cloth. And I hate to lose. They hate to lose. They love their team. They hate to lose. I hate to lose as
Right.
well. So I think though, if I were to say that the Philly fans were terrible or anything like that, that would be lying. It really would be for me because
Thank you.
they treated me great. I mean, really,
Yeah.
they did. Around the town, I ate very well. I ate very well. I didn't have to pay much, to eat. They were always feeding me, and people were always talking to me. I stayed in the city when I was there. I wasn't like up on some hill somewhere and staying away from everybody. I was in the town doing things, helping to feed, the people, the hungry, and all the different things that that are needed there. And I just think that when I was going around, what I remember is how awesome they were, always beeping at me and, oh man, we appreciate you, we love you and all that kind of stuff. And even when I went back there after I went to Seattle, in free agency, and I thought, man, they're really going to give it to me now. They're just going to treat me so bad. I got to get my mind ready for it. All this. Could not believe when I came out the tunnel and they were cheering for me.
Right.
Could not believe all the 32 jerseys that were out there in the stadium. I stayed there. I was the last one to get on the bus, because I was signing autographs and talking to fans and, my teammates from the Eagles as well. And so it wasn't the terrible experience that was always put out there that people may have thought I was going through. I just want to make sure I get that out there, that it definitely wasn't that. I had a show Monday Night Live with Ricky Waters, and it was on the 8th floor, which was the 8th floor of this building. And that outside the building, it was like a block party every Monday. All the people that would be out there, I could not believe it. It was standing room only inside. So that these people couldn't even get inside. And they were just standing outside just to see me and talk to me. They even had, it's kind of funny, but they used to have sightings, Ricky Waters sightings. So I would be somewhere eating and just hanging out, me and Kat. And all of a sudden, all these people come up and they're, talking to me. And next thing I know, they're asking autographs. Different people come. I'm like, how do y'all even know I was there? They was like, oh, it's on the radio. They have sightings of you and all this and that. So it was like, you can't say that's bad. You know what I mean? You got to say that is passion. That is a love, for the team. And they understood that I love it too, and how passionate I was. And I think that that's what won the day for me at the end.
Yeah, I'll tell you this.
I still go back and it's love. It's all love.
Oh, it totally is.
Like
and look, one of the things I love about Philly is, you said it right. We're very passionate, right? And again, my fandom has expanded beyond this now that I'm older, but we know a hard worker. Like you said about the kids, we know when someone's BSing, right? And every great athlete, including yourself in this city, has had a moment of misunderstanding or of adversity, right? And it's like the great one, Iverson. I mean, you can go through the list, right? But they battle through and they fight, and that's just respected here. And I'm not saying other cities don't have something like that, but there's a stigma around Philadelphia about the type of people, I guess, that we are. But it's really just comes down to hard work and, do you care about us, right? And that's why everybody here knows your name, and you are loved in this city, right? I just wanted to ask. I got you here. I wanted to ask about it, right?
Oh yeah.
Because
And it was tough though. It
yeah,
was tough. I had to stand up, even on that day, we played terrible. And the reason why, it was so much pressure on us, a 4-12 team just the year before, but everyone's expecting us to win the Super Bowl now, just because I was there and I was in the Super Bowl before that. So, even on that day, I had to be a leader.
right.
I had to stand up. I had to go, I went out there and spoke for my team. I took the bullet for them, so to speak. I knew it was going to be bad. I knew it was going to be a lot of hard questions and things like that. But that's what being a leader is all about. Sometimes you got to do the things you don't want to do. And like I said, you might be afraid. You might be nervous. All these things, you might not even not feel well, but you have to go do it. You have to do it. If you're a leader, you got to stand up for your team. You can't throw nobody under the bus. You gotta be that leader, and you take it on your shield and you tell them, like I said, I'm gonna do well for you guys. Don't worry. We're gonna put this behind us, and we're gonna have a great year, which we did. I had an awesome year that year. I was all pro and all Madden and all the great things that come with having a great year like that. And we were in the playoffs as a team, and we proved that we could beat the great Dallas Cowboys at the, and
that's another phrase I love to hear, by the way.
Giants, and we beat the Redskins and all those teams too that we always want to beat. So I think that's how the day was won, just me being a stand-up guy, not making excuses or anything like that, and saying that I'm going to be better. And I was.
Love it. I love that you said it a couple times, Ricky, about, it's okay to be afraid. And, I served in combat, several times. And it's funny, as I got older, I learned to deal with it a little better, but it didn't mean I wasn't afraid. And the young soldiers are like, "You look so calm, Sergeant Major." I'm like, "Yeah, well, I'm putting the face on," but it's all part of that. And when you went in there, because you played a high contact sport for most of your life.
So some would call it violent. Yeah.
It's 100%. 100%.
More violent than.
Well, I just had a big talk the other day with a couple friends here in Las Vegas. They were talking about, and they're Vegas Golden Knight fans, were talking about hockey and football and Raiders and all that. And they were like, "Oh, hockey's such an impact sport." I'm like, "It is not as violent and impact as football. No. So don't even go there." So let's don't even go there. And I'm a hockey fan. And a football fan. Though. They're tough, 100%, 100%. They're tough. Yeah, they got to play tough, but you don't run 30 yards and then hit somebody. So football. Ricky, on your website, you have a great line that I'd like to read to our listeners. And it says, "I looked up to players like Walter Payton, Tony Dorsett, and Eric Dickerson. I learned that it took much more than talent to make it to the highest level of success. They had to exhibit mental toughness and physical toughness to achieve greatness." I want to talk to you on how you define mental toughness and how you learned it from watching them, and especially how you applied it through your life. Because as you've been talking to us today, mental toughness, it's a journey. And I think people need to understand that. You talked about, when I felt weak, your father pulled you back. In high school, a particular coach, Joe, when you were a young player, Joe Montana saying, "Hey, you should be here," right? Because we all, this mental toughness, it's a wave, and we have to continue to learn and develop and grow it ourselves. So just talk us through that, your own mental toughness, how you developed it, and how you continue to apply it throughout your life.
Sure. I would also have to add, like Jim Brown, Franco Harris. I can add a whole bunch of guys.
Add them all.
Sure.
And that's especially guys that wear that 32, they gave me that's why I wanted to wear that 32, and I was always proud of wearing that number. Guys like them and Marcus Allen. There's just so many great players. And I know that a lot of people don't want to wear that 32 because it's tough. It's tough, but you got to live up to that. But all those guys were like that. Like Jim Brown, he has been such a mentor to me, has taught me so many different things. I was able to talk to him and really, be as vulnerable as I totally can be with him. And he totally helped me with so many things. He taught me how to play chess. So chess, that right there changed my life. And I teach a lot of
Love
other
it.
kids to play chess, and that's one of the ways that I mentor them is through chess. And while we're playing chess, we talk over the situations and how it's like life. It's like war. It's like all these different things, like football. When you're playing this game of chess. So people like that being in my life, number one, and being that role model for me uh, made a big difference. But like I said, nobody more than my father, my dad. I mean, he had so many different hard things that he had to deal with. He stepped on a landmine, blew him over a ravine, knocked all his teeth out of his mouth, all this stuff. You wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know it. He's getting around. He was out there with me, throwing me the football. He couldn't run with me and stuff like that, but he was always there showing me how to get through these adversities. And he would show me his leg where, half of it's missing. And, he had all these holes in him, I guess from scrap metal that went in there and been shot, a few times. Obviously didn't die. It's a great thing he didn't, but he had been shot. So when you see that, and he tell me his stories, man, he came one time to my school and talked. Everybody was in tears, every single person. And when he's a big man too, strong and everything. And for him to say he was afraid and he was this, he had to, he even talked about lying in dead bodies while the other troops were going over and they're stabbing bodies with the, making sure they're dead and everything with the bayonets and all that. And he's in there pretending to be dead. I mean, I'm like, if he can go through that, I think I'm okay. when I'm sitting here thinking about what things are tough for me and the hard times that I've had to go through. And when I hear stuff like that, and I hear things that my mom had to do and how they had to, quit school to help raise their families and different things that they had to do growing up, my stuff didn't seem as so bad, even though I know it's each person. It's what they're dealing with. Some people can take a lot, some people can. And so it's all relative in that way. But growing up with a dad like that and knowing the things that he had to deal with, the things that he was dealing with on a daily basis, trying to raise us and trying to keep us okay when I'm right there. Like I said, I was right there. If I just go up a couple streets, that bad element is right there. The element he's trying to keep me away from is right there. But somehow he was able to keep me from that. He was able to keep me on the right track. And, it's definitely my dad more than anyone else. But I've had mentors as well. And I've had coaches and I've had teammates who have helped me tremendously.
I love it. And I know that, you've obviously passed that on and you're doing it now at this next youth level. And I think that in listening to this, our listeners need to understand that this mental toughness, again, it's learned. You have to keep after it.
Yes.
The
doubt will keep coming in.
Doubt will keep coming in.
But yeah, right. The doubt will keep coming in. So you got to keep pushing that doubt out.
Sure. And I don't know this, but I'm going to ask you. So when you retired from playing and you had to start, your second career of life, I'm sure it creeped in too, because like I say about the military and pro sports, when they're done with you, they're done with you, right? Yeah. They move on, and now you had to assume this next career yourself. And I'm sure that there was difficult times there.
Yes, and raising two boys too, and to, there's the things in the beginning that you have to do with, changing the diapers and all that stuff that I had to learn and all that. But also, man, doing your chores, like you can't tell them to do the chores and you ain't doing them, right. And you're not doing it, or pick up after yourself and you're not picking up after yourself, so you have to lead by example, things like that. Is how I think how you do it. That was the best that I've gotten out of my kids is when I show them what to do. Don't just tell them and then I'm doing something different. I have to show them and participate with them. Another thing is in your mind. Like I think that people don't understand. I don't know if it's your, if your, people call it different things, your third eye, your inner self, your all these different things, but you can't, it doesn't have a sense of humor. So like if you keep telling yourself, I'm such a klutz, or I'm so dumb, or I can't do it, or how could I do it? Well, I guarantee you won't do it, because you're already telling yourself, and your body and your mind is going to do what you're saying. So I think words are very important as well. So we have to realize that you can't tell yourself one thing and think that you can go out and do something different. You got to tell yourself, I belong here. You got to tell yourself, I'm beautiful. You got to tell yourself, I have a chance to be great too. I have 2 legs, 2 arms, whatever. I'm just like this other person. If he could do it, I can do it too. And also, to, like I always say, believe in yourself, but don't try to be somebody else. Don't try. You can get stuff from people. There's nothing wrong with that. I got the spin move from Tony Dorsett. I got the little stutter step from Walter Payton. Different things that I got from players, from people talking. Like I said, Jim, I saw the way his stature is and how he's just I loved it, right? So I want to get more of that. I want to get some of that. And I wanted to learn how to play chess. You want to do those things, but also you have to realize that be the best version of you that you can be. You don't have to be nobody else. You don't have to even be your dad. You don't have to be, whoever, follow in their footsteps and do exactly what they did to be as great as they are. Like I tell my kids, you don't have to play football to be great. You don't have to, try to be me. You just be the best version of yourself that you can be. And I'm going to try to help you do that. And that's how I look at it with the young people. That's how I look at it with my kids. And I don't try to put too much on them than they can handle.
I love it. I love it. Ricky, amazing. You supercharged me today. I was a little light in my workout today. I'm going to get back after it here when you're done. It was great. And Lee, finally, there's one person in Philadelphia that plays chess. There you go.
Maybe anytime you want to play chess, you fly on over here. We'll make it happen.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's Ricky. Just in closing, again, echoing what you said, it's so important. Like you said, the messages you tell yourself, and it's not just when you're feeling good. You practice this all the time, because when things get bad is really when you need to apply it. When you're playing good, you're feeling good, you're mentally good, everything seems great. You will not stay there. It's not possible. Inevitably, something is going to happen. You will face adversity. And like you're saying, this is something you've got to train yourself. It's an infinite game. You train yourself constantly, because I always say this on every episode, right? It's like mental health, mental fitness, it cannot be achieved. Right? It's not something you get and you've got it forever. Right. Like you win the Super Bowl, you've always won the Super Bowl. That's not how this works. This is something you constantly have to be working on. And you said it in every mode of your life. Your youth, your father helped you, your playing days, you missed your whole first year, just recapping this whole episode. Then you went on, you found a way through, you retire, you found a way through, you keep moving, and you're super authentically yourself. You always have been. Right. That's one of the reasons that we want to get you on, is just because of who you are as a person. But for the audience listening, like, just amazing takeaways here today. Right. From a guy who knows. The other thing too, I was just going to say is it's so important. And you completely reaffirm this, how important anchors, I call them anchors, are in your life. People or situations that you can reflect on to kind of keep yourself at bay within your situation. You talked about your father. And being in combat, I'm sure your entire life always came back to like if he went through this, I can get through this. It is so important that we find those anchors. Sometimes it's your loved ones, sometimes it's a story. Remembering what Ricky said here today, your father lives on through those stories, right? Mm-hmm. So just for everybody listening, so important to have anchors. Understanding mental fitness is a never-ending game. And that to be authentically yourself. I mean, you've said that so many times today. I think it's so important. Ricky, you were fantastic, man. This was an awesome episode.
Oh, thank you.
Loved it.
Yeah, it was great talking with you guys.
Oh, it goes both ways. Hopefully we can do some more stuff together in this realm. We want to help you. What is the best way for people to find out about your philanthropic ventures if they want to learn more about the pro experience or the work that you and your wife do?
Well, one of the things is Impact Wellness. That is our company that we do pain. It's for pain management, and so we have Impact Wellness. Impact-wellness.com.
Right.
So you can find out about that
there. You go. We'll link
But
that with the episode. Yeah.
or what is it? RickyWaters.com is the other one as well. And social media. Of course, I'm on social media. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I'm on.
We will make sure that we link everybody to all that stuff in this. Don't worry, we got that. And
it has a blue check, so
that's all that matters nowadays. Trust me. Yeah, authenticated, right? No, Ricky, again, can't thank you enough for being here today, buddy.
Yeah. Oh man, thanks for having me.
All right,
I love what you guys are doing. Keep doing it.
Well, we love what you're
Thanks,
doing
Ricky.
too, man.
Appreciate
We love
that.
you. Yeah, that's going to do it for this episode of Win Championship Trades for Life, which is powered by Pivotal Moments. Again, you can learn more about our organization, Pivotal Moments Media, at pivotalmomentsmedia.com. We've got more inspirational, entertaining, and educational content. If you want to contact us, feel free to email me at lee@pivotalmomentsmedia.com or DM us through any of our Grit Athlete channels on social media. For Ricky Waters and JB Spizo, I'm Lee Elias. Thanks so much for joining us. Make sure to keep an eye out for more episodes soon, wherever podcasts can be heard. Make sure you share this one. Make sure you check out what Ricky's doing. Make sure you tell a friend, and give us those 5-star reviews wherever you listen. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time on Win. Thanks so much for listening to this edition of Win Championship Trades for Life. If you like what you heard, go ahead and hit that subscribe button or that like button wherever you're listening, whether it's a podcast network, a social media network, or our website, pivotalmomentsmedia.com. And remember, Win is part of Grit, a Pivotal Moments Media channel, which is working to break the stigma surrounding mental fitness in sports. Again, visit pivotalmomentsmedia.com for more episodes, content, and education on how we can tackle that challenge together. Keep climbing, and we'll see you on the next episode.